I recently watched Sean Baker's Anora and absolutely loved it. Mikey Madison gives a powerhouse performance in the lead role, the 2.5-hour runtime flies by, and it might have been the hardest I've laughed in a cinema all year. It was also a timely reminder that Baker is one of the finest filmmakers working today. No one else is doing what Baker is doing quite like Baker is doing it. Like Paul Thomas Anderson, his films are deeply idiosyncratic, yet speak to a larger, universal human truth. Baker's films have been described as both comedies and dramas. They're either sad comedies or funny dramas. He captures the tragedies that make life so devastating, the loneliness, the loss, the messiness, the disappointment, but he also captures the absurdity that makes life inherently hilarious. I think the best genre description you can ascribe to Baker's filmography is slice of life. He's all about giving you an honest look into people's lives, the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Today this could be the greatest day of our lives.
When you watch Baker's films, it feels like you're dropping in on the lives of real human beings. Tangerine was filmed on iPhones. It feels like it could have been shot by the characters themselves. No one in Baker's movies feels like a movie character. They're living, breathing people with flaws and vulnerability and multifaceted personalities. There's a loose, laid-back quality to Baker's movies that reminds me of what I love so much about Eric Rohmer's films. He's in no rush to get through the beats of a plot, to get to an inciting incident and start escalating the stakes. We'll get there when we get there, and the characters' interactions will get you invested in their relationships and make you care where all this is going. You don't need a MacGuffin, you don't need some crazy external conflict, you just need people worth caring about and real-world obstacles standing in their way, like an overdue rent check or an unfaithful partner.
You're breaking up with him. Thank God. Him to be cheating on you like that. Wait, what? You didn't know?
Anora tells the story of an exotic dancer. When a Russian oligarch's immature, drug-addled son takes a shine to her, he pays her an exorbitant amount of money to pretend to be his girlfriend, then impulsively asks her to marry him so he can get a green card and stay in America. Up to that point, Anora is a modern-day fairy tale about a lowly peasant being whisked away to live like a princess. But shit gets real very quickly when the kid's dad finds out about the marriage and sends his goons over to get it annulled by any means necessary. Anora is arguably the most heightened film Baker has made to date. Once the Goon Squad shows up, it practically becomes a Coen Brothers crime caper. But it still has the stark sense of realism that made his previous work so immersive and engaging. You never lose the feeling that all of this could really be happening to real people in the real world. When he was making Anora, Baker brought on Andrea Werhun, a writer, actor, and former sex worker best known for her 2018 memoir Modern Whore, as a creative consultant to make sure they were depicting that world as realistically as possible. Baker has made it his mission to destigmatize sex work by telling stories that normalize it and creating characters that humanize sex workers. Tangerine is about a sex worker trying to track down her pimp/boyfriend on Christmas Eve after finding out he's cheating on her. The Florida Project is about an unemployed single mother living in a motel who resorts to selling sexual favors to stave off homelessness for herself and her daughter. Red Rocket is about a retired porn star returning to his hometown and trying to reclaim his old pre-porn life. And Anora, of course, is about a stripper/escort getting a taste of the high life and coming to the heartbreaking realization that her fairy tale romance with a wealthy John is just that, a fairy tale. None of these characters are an archetype. None of them adhere to the one-note stereotypes of sex workers that the media usually deals in. They're well-rounded, three-dimensional people. What they do for a living is just one aspect of their character, and their sex work is depicted for what it is, work. In the opening montage of Anora, we see a typical day in the life of a stripper. Annie spends as much of her workday schmoozing potential clients and trying to sweet-talk them into buying a dance as she does taking off her clothes and sliding up and down a pole. We see the burnout that will drive Annie into a misguided marriage to a rich Russian. Her boss is insufferable, the customers are exhausting, and the work is painfully repetitive. It's a job just like any other.
Hi, I'm Annie. You don't have cash? Let's go to the ATM. We could go chill out in a private room.
This montage is Baker's slice-of-life filmmaking in a nutshell. It shows the lead character to have depth and substance, it portrays sex work in a sympathetic light, and it captures the monotony of everyday life in a deeply cinematic way. A big part of the realism in Baker's films is his naturalistic dialogue. I'm not sure how much is scripted and how much is improvised, but it feels like it could all be improvised. It has the spontaneity and the randomness and the musicality of real conversation. It's often said that dialogue should sound like a more polished version of conversation if the people involved had a few more seconds to think about what they're going to say than they have in real life. But Baker's characters don't have those extra seconds to think. They speak impulsively and often slip up or repeat themselves. In Anora, the dialogue switches between Annie's perfect English, Vanya's imperfect English, Vanya's perfect Russian, and Annie's imperfect Russian. So it's even messier than usual, and that makes it feel even more real. In addition to writing, directing, producing, and sometimes shooting his movies, Baker also edits his own films, and he has a razor-sharp command of pacing. His films have a lifelike flow. They keep moving forward like the relentless passage of time, so you never get a second to be bored. The majority of his movies feel like a montage, bounding through time, covering a few hours of the characters' lives at a time, with little snippets of little interactions. I praised the editing of Francis Ha for a similar quality in my Greta Gerwig video. Baker can make you feel like you've spent a whole day hanging out at the beach with Annie and Vanya's friends, with just a couple of minutes of well-placed cuts. But when it's time to slow down for something important, like the proposal in Anora, or the climactic showdown with social services in the Florida Project, Baker gives those scenes plenty of space to breathe. In some cases, he'll linger on a tracking shot or a shot locked onto a moving car for a really long time, making you feel like an observant fly on the wall. Slice-of-life stories emphasize character over plot, and Baker's films are character studies above all. The Florida Project is like a modern-day Little Rascals, showing the bleakness of poverty through the innocent eyes of a child. Red Rocket is about the weird social stigma that having porn on your resume is even more repellent to potential employers than a criminal conviction. And Anora is a heartbreaking examination of a young woman who doesn't know how to handle someone seeing her as a human being and not just a sex object. Baker finds the beauty in the mundane. He can take the smallest, simplest human interaction and turn it into a riveting cinematic spectacle. After the incredible, almost Coppola in the 70s-like run of Tangerine, The Florida Project, Red Rocket, and now Anora, I can't wait to see what Baker does next. Thanks for watching, guys. I hope you liked the video. Remember to like and subscribe and click on the little bell. And also seize the day and call your mom and be kind to yourself.